Good morning. It's 10:31, but it's really close to 10:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, and that means it is time for Sunday Club. Been late the last few weeks, running a little bit more organized this morning, and I was a minute late because I was looking at all the stuff to look at today. So hopefully that's okay. Sunday Club. Every week we look at building a Ruby on Rails application. And in the past, in the previous stream, we built an application to do with YouTube live streaming and Twitch live streaming, and an app that you can kind of move through. That's all back in the Sunday Club YouTube channel if you want to watch those old live streams. Right now, we're focusing on building an events application, specifically focusing on allowing groups to register for events and all of the complexities around that. And we're kind of diving in. We are building it in Ruby on Rails, but we're actually kind of focusing at the moment on just like planning the application and what it is, what it isn't, looking at what other apps do, and just looking at kind of like some product development-y stuff. So a couple things, some follow-up. One, I have actually done some homework this week, and the homework is around this, I guess, the modeling side of things. But I guess like I was like, oh, how does that actually? How are we going to do that? Like, what does that actually look like? After looking at some of the competitor UIs, we're going to jump straight in there today. And the other thing that I wanted to, this isn't quite follow up, but it was something I was thinking about, and I'm going to like try and put something, I don't know, maybe like on the channel somewhere or something, like a little short video about this. But like, I know people seem to follow along and they've been watching and stuff like that. People subscribing. Like, if we're about to talk about all of like the modeling and the designing, and we're going to jump into some code. This is like just for the live stream. Like, we're sidestepping a bunch of other stuff that we should be doing. So hopefully people are picking up on that. And it's we're not saying that this is like the stuff that I'm showing today, like I did in front of the TV while I was half watching a Netflix thing, which also had subtitles, which makes working while doing it, and it kept jumping back and forth between English and it was Hebrew, and I had to stop working to watch the bits in other languages, and then I could only type during the bits in English. But like, just bear that in mind. Like, I don't want anyone to think that we're like saying this is well thought out or anything like that. I would hate for anyone to think that what I was doing was well thought out. That's really what I wanted to say up front. Right, with all of that feed follow up out the way, let's just jump straight in. We haven't got any time for messing around. Right, what are we talking about today? We are talking about like the buying of tickets. So let's go to where we were last week. We're in our, sorry, I'm just going to transfer the screen over to my screen. Okay, great. So we've got a prototype, and it's super rough. We spoke in a couple streams ago about this really cool idea of like, if you are just working on your own, you don't have to worry about the fidelity of your prototype. You're just able to kind of answer any questions that you have, play around with stuff. It doesn't matter. You can just mess around in it. And we had this idea where we played with the view component here, and we were kind of like trying to work out how we could get that working with lists and things like that. That was fun. Then we had this idea that you could click through from a list of events to view a single event. And then we worked on what would navigation look like? What would that, how would that be grouped? How would it work on mobile devices and things like that? And we looked through all that stuff. We then started to look through, I don't know if we did orders. We did attendees. And then we looked at groups specifically, because if you remember, when we did the kind of competitor run through, I've got all these tabs open here. You can see I've got Ticket, Tailor, Eventbrite, Tribe Booking, and then there were a couple more that I can't remember, but they all keep emailing me because now I'm on their little automated marketing flow. So that's very fun for my inbox. The one thing that I was interested in because of my previous experience having kind of done some similar functionality, this was this idea of groups and teams, or whatever you want to call them. So we made groups a first-class citizen in our navigation menu, and we had, I mean, this isn't very obvious from what this is, but we had these kind of like ticket types. These are the types of ticket you could purchase. You could be a pro runner, or you could have a family ticket, and then you would click through and be in a group. And the the group idea was that it didn't matter. Maybe you had ordered 3 tickets together, or created 3 attendees or something like that as the purchaser, but actually the admin on the organization side wanted to be able to move you around. So you might say that you bought 3 tickets for a ball or something like that, and actually the table numbers don't work out, or you're like, oh, actually my other friend wants to come, can you move me onto this other table? And you could move them onto another group, you could remove them from a group, but that wouldn't affect the order and like the financial transaction. So that's then where I got to well, I'll carry on with just a quick roundup. So we had merge group. These were just, we were thinking here about things that we would want to do. We want to move people. We had this idea of a group admin, because not only does the organizer from the organization running the event want to administrate these, but potentially people want to administrate their own groups as well. Maybe they are sending out invite codes or some invite links or something like that. Merge groups together, edit groups, and remove people from them. And I'm sure there's stuff that we're missing there. That was just a quick list. So we had, you can't click on this order, but I think we got to attendee. So you could click through to this attendee. This was Jane Smith. And then you could see the group that she was taking part in. And obviously you would see like everything else about her, her ticket, I guess, her as an attendee. Any like the form she had filled in to take part, or that the ticket purchaser had filled in on her behalf. You'd see all of that stuff here as well. But what we cared about is that she's taking part in this team, and you could click through and then view the team and then go back to the order. Now, I was like, what does this look like from the purchaser's point of view? And I had a couple of other things in mind. So one of the things so it wasn't Ticket Tailor, it's actually in Safari. So let me grab my other browser here. I was looking at this one here. I was actually looking at widgets, more interestingly. Yeah, sorry, this is a bit disjointed, but I was in front of the telly, so don't judge. Like, so what I was thinking was, I was like, oh, I wonder how they do like embeds these days for like, hey, stick this on your website. So here's a snippet of JavaScript, and then we will go and pull the things we need through. And basically Eventbrite does it in one of 2 ways. It has an iframe that it will generate, or it will put a modal that will overtake the whole screen. And then this, so I was looking at this, and this one's interesting because it's obviously something that Safari doesn't do. So this is the Liverpool Gin Festival, and this is being supported by Try Booking, which is one of the ones we looked at the other day. And they're obviously trying to embed the ticket purchasing process here, but it says your browser does not support this feature. So I wonder if there's something in Safari, like maybe not allowing, not allowing the kind of parent site to reach in and grab data. Well, it's iframes, you can't really do that anyway, but like, I don't know what Safari would be doing, but they then kick you out to another, to the domain, basically. And from having done some stuff with functionality around this, I can guarantee that clients would not like this, because I'd say clients, like the organizations, would not like this, because the branding and like staying in their user experience is very important to them. And they would be like, hey, just go over to this other domain, because it's a big deal if you leave the domain to go from the Liverpool Gin Festival over to some random booking site. I mean, it does make sense, but sometimes it's like older audiences and stuff, they don't like to see a domain name change. It's becoming less of an issue because now they're just hiding the domain names in browsers. So I was looking at this, and one of the things I found interesting about this is you could go and buy tickets to this event. So let's go book in a new window. It'll create this site for us. So this has different days that you can buy tickets for, and this is something that we haven't really sort of modeled out. We discussed it in one of the early modeling streams, which is this idea of I remember that original list. It was like this versus that, and it was like multi-day versus kind of one-off events. So this is multi-day event, but you could actually have sessions within a given day. You just have different times, basically, and you can model you can both model that differently in the ticket application, but you can model it different as an event organizer. You could have one ticket and kind of one ticket type, and you could have like a form that people fill and say, hey, which session would you like to come to? 10 a.m. till 11, 12 to 1, whatever it is. And you could have like a select that they would have to pick from. Or you could have them each as a different ticket types. They're basically buying different ticket types to one event, or you could set each one up as a different event. So like the modeling of the application itself is also then mirrored by the fact that the event organizers, the admin users of the ticket applications, can also model things differently. How they think about their application can be different as well, which is really interesting. So got two sets of flexibility. But what I found really interesting was on this one, when I was in, I'm assuming this will have expired. Yeah, let's just ditch me out. So this one, I was like, okay, well, I want to buy a ticket for Friday. Let's say I want one standard event ticket for Friday. Cool. And it takes me to that. I confirm I'm over 18 because it's a gin festival. That's obviously the only bit of information they want from me. But again, like, as we showed with all the other competitors, you could have other forms. This is the ticket purchaser form. I'm going to sneeze. Okay, maybe I'm not. God, that's frustrating. Okay, so, or not even necessarily. Yeah, this would be the purchaser details, like the actual order details. But this one then has buy more tickets. Whereas on the Eventbrite system, you're kind of in that flow. Here, I could say, well, I actually want a Saturday. Oh, this actually is. I said these are different days, but they're actually 2 days, but one of them is 2 sessions. Sorry, I missed that earlier. Let's say I want to buy this one as well, and I'm going to buy just a standard ticket here as well. So now I have 2 ticket types in my cart, but in what would be interesting is, like, could I go and get different things? And what I was thinking was, like, this is really like a shopping cart. Can I go and buy, I'm assuming I can't do this, but could I go and buy a ticket to a different event from the same organizer? Like, that could be kind of interesting. And then I was thinking about what happens if there were upsells on here that weren't tickets, like t-shirts, stuff like that. And we have done that in the, in the previous application. We basically did that by having in the form in the per attendee form that you could fill in, we had price modifiers. So as you added like do you want to buy a t-shirt? Yes, it would like add £5 onto that line item, onto that ticket. And that actually worked really well, but it ended up, we ended up really tied into the modeling that we had picked up front. I was wondering if we could make that more generic. I'm assuming that I can't go and buy different. I'm assuming I can't go and buy different try booking tickets and have them all in my cart. Can I? Let's go find out. It takes me back to there. That's actually, that would drive me crazy if I was the gin booking, the gin festival people, and then you took me out to your booking experience, and then the link in the top left took me back to your homepage. That's so confusing for users. It's like, I want to go back to the gin place. Where am I? And obviously you're in a new tab, so you're lost. But like, this site knows the URL of this event. Like, it could let you link back there or something, because that's really annoying. Sorry, there's a little rant, little user experience irk of mine there. So, so I'm assuming then I can't pick anything else up. So if I go buy more tickets, yeah, I'm still within this event, but I could have, they've called their sessions. We could have as many of these as we wanted, presumably. And then if I buy a totally different type of event, so they've done group tickets as a line item. So does this bring up 10 forms that I have to fill in to say I am over 18, or just one? 10. Okay, so that is a kind of group purchase that creates individual line items here. Oh my god, I really regret doing that. Let's see how that then looks, because again, we spoke about this last time. Like, if the form was longer, this page would be incredibly long. If we needed 10 fields from each attendee, there would be lots of fields on here. I'm just checking to see I haven't missed any. Okay, so then let's go next. Okay, so this shows here as one individual line item on my cart. But there are 10 things underneath it, and that gets to where I was kind of interested. So this kind of like cart model is I think not how we had built it last time I built this kind of functionality. We didn't make it generic enough early enough, so the idea, like, we had to add upsells and purchases as form modifiers to like so that for each attendee, when you're filling in the form, you could change the price of that individual attendee, because we hadn't backed into it as like it's a generic cart. You can add anything to it as long as everything in the cart responds to like the same things that a standard line item would in an e-commerce shopping cart. Then it could be anything, and it happens to be a ticket that then knows what to do to generate attendees and stuff like that. So I was then like, what does this look like to go and model this out? So then I think I started some stuff in here. So let me bump this font size up, so hopefully it's a bit more legible. Make this a bit bigger. Okay, so I was kind of looking for what is the corollary? What is the thing in my mind that this very closely relates to? And what problem does it solve for us? So the problem that we're trying to solve really is at least two things that are off the top of my head. One, what happens if we want to do something other than just include tickets? And the things that popped into my mind were, I'd mentioned that we had done fundraising on with this functionality before, and a common request was, can people add a donation at the point where they're buying a ticket, but separate from the ticket? And there's a really specific use case around that, and I think it's UK specific, is that charities have the ability to claim this thing called gift aid, which is where the government will top up a donation. They will basically, for UK taxpayers, it's like a partial match system. But there are conditions around it, and you can't claim gift aid. Oh, if I get this wrong, don't yell at me. It's been a while, but like my memory is that you can't claim gift aid on donations that are like in exchange for something. So you can't say, I'm taking part in a raffle, here's £10, and then you then can't claim gift aid on that £10 because it's not a pure donation. It's in exchange for the ticket, which makes it ineligible. And so we were like, oh well, you can just add things to the ticket form that people fill in. They're like, well, actually no, that, because then that makes it that the donation is specifically part of that thing. Whereas what we really want to do is just have it so that you can buy 5 tickets and you can happen to make a donation, but then they're unrelated. I don't actually know whether that would qualify or not for gift aid. Didn't go too far down that road because we hadn't modeled for it. But what we ended up doing was tacking the donation on the end of the process. You would buy your tickets. We would then encourage you to donate because we already had your payment details and stuff. So you would do one and then you would do the other. Because that was the best we could do with the modeling that we had. So I was like, what happens if we could do add a donation into the cart, up front, and treat it as an entirely separate thing from the tickets, but make it part of the same process. The other one was, as I said, like merch and other add-ons. And add-ons could be anything. It could be like, I want to buy t-shirts. It could be just other digital products, could be anything. So I was like, how hard is it to model making tickets and attendees and all of that stuff part of a generic shopping cart? And I'm assuming that it's a massive hassle, because I started thinking it through and it seems like a massive hassle. And I was like, well, why don't we tackle it? Like, let's give it a go. Because as I said up front, this is not, it's just for the live stream. This is just not very deep thinking. So this all might be really bad ideas, but that's absolutely fine. Like, no, we're not trying to claim any of this is good. So just loads of caveats for the next few streams. So I was thinking about this idea of like having a cart, and the cart then becomes an order, and orders have line items, maybe cart contents. Maybe we generate the line items. So the cart contents, maybe they have their own cart line item or something like that. But the reason that we care about doing that is this notion of we need to disassociate two things. One is when the price at the point the purchaser clicks the button could change at any point because the event could get updated. This is the same as an e-commerce system. Like if you put something in your basket and it's £10 and then the shop updates it to £20, you don't want to have £10 shown to the user all the way through, and then suddenly when you actually, the moment that you take the payment transaction happens to coincide with the admin side being changed, and suddenly they're being charged £20, and also nothing in the back end lines up because everything would now say £20. You're like, well, it says £20 on the order, and you're like, no, it said £10 at the time. So the data that you show the user when they click order, whatever point in your system you say, right, that's the point where we're kind of taking a snapshot of this, that then can't change. You need in 2 years time, if you've updated the price a bunch of times since then, that order number, you still have to show them the correct price from the moment that they ordered it, not the price of the item now. And that's important for any kind of order process, but this one especially. So we have this idea of the line item, but also this a ticket or attendee, whatever we want to call it, gets created. And we know that we want that to change because they need to come in and maybe change their name or change the group or anything like that. Like things can change around the ticket, but they can't change on the line item, which is that like this ticket cost this much money and was associated with this order, because all of that needs to tie together to be related to the financial transaction. So the order and the transaction of the financial transaction always have to line up. Like even if something gets refunded, it's the financial transaction that's being refunded. The thing that was purchased may or may not be getting taken away from the person that purchased it. You could offer a refund and not give the thing back. You'd be like, oh, hey, sorry. Or even give a partial refund. You might be like, oh, hey, I didn't enjoy that event or whatever. Yeah, because you could also give refunds before and after it. From an event scenario, you could give ones after the event. So, hey, sorry, you didn't have a great experience. Here's half your money back. But you still want to have the ticket and stuff like that. So this is me thinking this through. So this idea of like, what is different between a t-shirt or a donation or any kind of cart item versus the ticket specifically. And also, how are they represented? And I thought that Eventbrite was an interesting example of this. Let's go and do some Eventbrite stuff again and bring that up here. And what happens here, this is me looking at this stuff. So in here, let's go and have add attendees. It's going to make me log in again, isn't it? No, it's remembered me. So here, for example, if we say we want to buy 3 tickets and they were £10, and we click continue, and oh, hey, Chris in the chat, which is not showing up on. Oh no, the chat box on my screen is totally not showing up. Hang on, sorry, I'm just moving. Chris said you didn't show up on the chat for people. Let me just move that over. Okay, Chris, now you're on the screen. What text editor are you using here? This one, do you mean this one here? This is Notion. So if you haven't used Notion, it's great. And I highly recommend it. It's super fun. And it's just a giant block editor, basically. So each of these bits of text is a block. And then you can add in new blocks. And you can have code, headings, loads of cool stuff. And the really crazy thing is you can basically put like some of the blocks are full databases with calendars and Trello boards and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a block editor with like Trello and other cool stuff built in. It's wild. Yeah, really good. Go check out Notion. I would send you a referral link because I used to have one and they used to get $5 for people that signed up. And they stopped running that scheme because they got super big and popular, and now I don't get $5 every time. Can't win them all, but I still do. I do really recommend it to people. So max. 1, 2, 3. Cool. So what we're doing here is we're in the admin area of Eventbrite. We are purchasing 3 tickets for. I thought I said £10. Why are they $9.99? Oh, maybe because of what I was just about to demonstrate. Ah, amazing. Right. Okay. So they're $9.99. Why are these $9.99? Because even though the UI you're being given is create a single line item here, you're not. You're creating 3 line items, and therefore it needs to line up, because 10 divided by 3 would give you a non-round number. Therefore, it has to be $9.99. And if you are the so what do I mean by that? If we put in £10, let's go through. It'll make me type in my thing again. So it's changed it to $9.99, and I'm going to show you why it did that in a second. So let's place that back in here. Great. Okay, cool. Don't need to send a confirmation address. I already have enough of these event things in my inbox. Okay, so we can now see our order. What we have is 3 line items for £3.33 each. And this is the line item that we see in our order area. So we haven't got one times general admission at £10, one single line item with 3 tickets attached. We just see the 3 tickets. Let's go and see what happens as a user if we try and do that. So because we can buy general admission with this, I think I might have to go and stop my dog barking at the what I assume to be an Amazon Prime guy. Oh, these are free. Okay, right. I think this is the difference. It's because this would be handled because I'm typing in a price for a free event. I'm overriding it in the admin area. So if we go, I think there were paid ticket types on there, weren't there? We go in here. No, we only had free ones. It was on the other events. So that's how the line items panned out on that one. Where are our other events? He's fine, by the way, if you can hear my dog barking in the background. He is just letting us know that there is a delivery guy in the street. Let's go to test event. I'm really hoping they're not delivering anything here, because otherwise I'll have to go down and move it, because he chewed up my delivery of a Dollar Shave Club the other day, which is not too fun. Right, here we go. So let's go and view here. Sorry, I am trying to demonstrate something here. So let's go through. So as an individual, get tickets per runners. So here, so as a user here, we are seeing, I'll just do 2 because I'm going to have to fill in this stupid information. One line item, 2 times pro runners teams. Okay, great. Check out. It's then going to do the payment information and again show the 2. Oops. I'm not sure how I would see that in the back end, but I have a sneaking suspicion. Oh, here, like the, okay, so pay with check, free order, paid with check. I'm assuming in the back end I wouldn't see this. I'm assuming I would see in the order the individual line items, but I don't know if it would break down. If it, oh, I suppose it must break down the price across each line item. Sorry, I'm just closing tabs. I'm just going to tidy up a little bit just because I've got too much open. So this can all go. That's the free one. That's the paid one. And this is what you can view at the back end. This is the test event. Orders. Yeah, so if you see 2 times pro runners teams here, 2 times pro runners teams, this is also 2 times pro runners teams, I assume. So the total of that is £15. But this is always broken down with the line items as per attendee. So it's interesting that that this one is allowing you to do group tickets as a single ticket type here. Oh, no, I guess this is doing the same thing because I don't know what the admin area is. No, because here, when I say I want 2 times, this is 2 times attendees. This isn't 2 times groups of 5. But that is what it is here. This is one group of 10, and then this is creating 10 attendees. Okay, so that's something we need to bear in mind when we're modeling this stuff. I think this is all holding in my head. I actually have no idea. So this is my notion, this idea of like having cart contents, because at this point the user hasn't committed to anything. They're just, you're showing them a list of purchasables or things that can be purchased from an event. And this could be, so this is presumably could be ticket types. I don't know at what point you would introduce groups into that, but I assume they have to pick the quantities for each ticket type first. Because on Eventbrite, the group UI pops up first. So it makes you pick if you're going into a group, and then I'm guessing it only shows you tickets that can be purchased in teams. Whereas what we had discussed is like, could you allow people to register as a group, but buy any ticket type? Because the fact that they are your groups shouldn't need to all be the same ticket type, because you might have 2 adults and 1 child all in the same group. So that's not, the group isn't related to the ticket type. Let's come back to that. Then when you actually click on the, yes, I want to check out, we create an order, potentially. And at the moment that you create the order, based on what's in the cart, you create the line items. And notice how I'm not certain of saying any of this stuff. The line items are the snapshots of what's in the cart at that point. They are the pricing information and everything that you're taking a snapshot of in order that things might change from then on, but your order is underway, and maybe you set the timer for the order, like it's got an expiry date or something, like an expiry timestamp or something like that. At that point, each line item also has to be associated with a product, because it has to know what it is, what each line item is. So for example, it could be a ticket type for an event. Yeah. I was just looking at this. Would it need to be could it be a ticket type could include group. So the ticket type could have properties that told the line item it was a group of things. You then have this idea of what I've just put here is like the line itemable. Like, what is the actual artifact, the thing that is created when you purchase this thing is not the line item itself, because it needs to go on and live but it also has a real effect. So for example, an attendee or ticket, I guess, is the actual thing, but we're using attendee as a proxy for ticket. Would you create that at this stage as well? And let's say that you have got a group purchase here. You've got 10. You've got one line item in the cart that is a 10 person thing. You're then creating 10 people, because when you actually click through to this, there are 10 forms to fill in. So it knows that there are 10 things within that one line item. Is in this type of thinking, would that then create 10 at the point at which you're generating the order? Do you also generate 10 line itemables? Or do you create 10 line items and then at a higher level just wrap them all up when you're in the UI, for example, just be like, oh, actually, we know these are all grouped? Or do you have, or can line items have a hierarchy where there are like, there's one parent line item, but it actually has 10 ones underneath it? Are these all really stupid ideas? If anyone designs systems like this isn't what I've worked on bits and bobs around this. Because like e-commerce stuff is just so much simpler. It was always really complicated, but like or maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just getting hung up on it because like I think the idea of grouping the tickets together both by ticket type and then within groups, I think is messing with me as part of the purchasing process, because I'm not sure at what point we want to join those two ideas together. But I still want to make sure that we're totally disassociating them from the financial line item that's been paid for. So you bought 10 tickets for however much this was, for £75. So these are £7.50. So do we have 10 line items for £7.50 each with one individual line itemable? Or not? And what are the pros and cons around doing that? We're going to model some of this. We're going to actually make some of this stuff. So let's go. We're going to find out. This one might be awful. I have no idea. Like I said, I've done this in my spare time. Cut me some slack. T-shirts. So this is something a bit more like a standard e-commerce product, where each organizer could have like a range of products they could have. And then for you could have a UI somewhere where they said, right, what are the products for this event? And you could just pass that through. And then the line itemable here could potentially be nothing, because you don't care. You've purchased it, and you might not offer e-commerce functionality because it's an event application. But it could also be like there's loads of artifacts from e-commerce stuff. It could be like a stock allocation that you might create because you've only got 15 tickets and you need them all to get ticked off the stock system. I don't know, fulfillment stuff, like loads of e-commerce stuff. I don't know why these. Yeah, I think that these are wrong. I think that one is ticket type line item. Yeah, I don't know why that one be. I think that one's wrong. I don't know why there'd be a ticket type line item with a t-shirt in it. I think that's wrong. And then the donation idea that I was talking about earlier. Again, you'd have this. Idea of a donation, like turn them on for an event or turn them on for an organization, and then the thing that got created by this line item was the actual instance of the donation itself, which you would then need to populate and move through, like if things for that. And what I was actually looking for that stuff was docs for. I had a quick Google around for like e-commerce modeling doc. So this is Spree, which is a Rails e-commerce system, and this is a pretty like quick and easy overview of what they do. I mean, obviously Spree's like super fully featured and does other stuff. I've only worked with it once, I think, and even then it wasn't. I didn't do anything particularly deep because whenever I've done e-commerce stuff, they've tended to be with like on the Rails side, building like Shopify apps and things like that, where actually the actual e-commerce of it all is kind of like a solved problem by Shopify, and then you're just using webhooks and API stuff to do post-purchase applications and stuff that helps the actual merchant do stuff. Yeah, I don't think I haven't worked on the actual e-commerce software side of things for a long time. Yeah, since doing stuff on PHP probably, but the modeling doesn't really change. I mean, it's like buying a thing. And what they had here is this kind of like an order has all of this stuff, so all of these things, and then it has a state machine, which we'll come on to later. And then it's disassociated from the payment because the payment is not the same thing as the order, which is not the same thing as shipping the order. And then it has products, which we've just been talking about. So they've got this idea of a variant. So you might have like a t-shirt and then, I guess, large and small and medium. Yeah, that's an interesting one. What were you going to do about that? So that would be, I guess they would kind of be like, at the ticket type level would be like product versus variant. That's already an interesting one. Yeah, so this is why you don't merge these two things together, because they're already complex enough on their own. Like, I think this is just a bad idea. Like, why Eventbrite doesn't randomly let you buy other shit on their checkout process, because it's already complicated buying a ticket for something. Why make it more complicated? Because it's interesting for me on a Sunday morning is the answer to that question. Why are we making it more complicated? So here, t-shirt product. Again, that could just, like, I'm presuming you're always buying a variant, aren't you? Like a product records a unique product in the store. These differ from variants, which are the unique variations of a product. Product as a t-shirt would have variants denoting its different colors. Products and variants describe what is for sale. Products are these. Master, yeah, okay, so master variant is what I think I would bump the font size of this up actually, so it's a bit easier to read on the stream. Yeah, so every single product has a master variant. So like I said, you're always purchasing a variant under the hood. Yep. So master variants are automatically created along with a product and exist for the sole purpose of having a consistent API when associating variants and line items. Okay, cool. If there were no master variant, the line items would need to track a polymorphic association, which would either be a product or a variant. Yes, you're always buying a variant. Okay, cool. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here is like you're always buying. They were just like t-shirt, like medium red. Yeah, is medium a variant and red a variant? Or is it... Here we go. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. Wow. I genuinely had not read the rest of these docs and I was like, wait, are they just creating a variant for each combo? Okay, so for the non-ones, you then get a different variant afterwards. Okay. Drifting off into e-commerce stuff here, not staying on the event side of things. You could do... You're still saying that the product itself is the t-shirt. And then the variants could then come... Again, you're always buying a variant, but I'm assuming you're always setting both the product and the variant, even though you are always buying a variant. Yeah, that seems fine / incredibly complicated because I'm just not thinking about it right now. Okay, fine. What was the link to line items on here? Link to line items. Line items that are used to keep track of items within the context of an order. These records provide a link between orders and variants. When a variant is added, if the variance price was changed, then the line item would still have a record of the price at the time of ordering. That's just what we were talking about earlier. Addresses, adjustments, dating. Okay. I think all that's fine. I think all of this is... I think I'm missing about 1 million things here, but I'm about to bump into them all. So what I was thinking was like, right, what does this actually look like? And this is all just, again, just noise. But I was kind of thinking like, let's say that you just had ticket types to start with. So you would have, like, right, this is all made up. Like, go and get me the ticket types that I can purchase right now for this event. And that would then be used to generate the UI for the event. And that would be the equivalent of not this, but this. And this could have your rules around like these are sharing sessions versus whatever else it is, like ticket types, whatever you're calling this. When you fill this in, where's the Eventbrite version of this as well? Let's do 2 while we're doing this. Back to tickets. So these are the ticket types for this event. So this is the equivalent of doing this, and I'm simplifying massively. Then when you click create, when you click make my order, I was kind of messing around here, but the idea being then that you're getting a set of params through, and it's, I put product type there. Again, this is code I wrote. Again, it's not even code. It's just noise that I wrote in front of the telly. But you've purchased yes, but you have purchased a product. So that could be ticket type or something like that. You would then need to know which one it is and how many you've purchased. That then tells you what its own rules are. So this is like, okay, well, I am of this type, and here is what I then need to be able to do. So when I was like, oh, you could have something like an order builder, or I don't know what you'd call it. But you basically pass products, which is just a param through. Did I build any of this? Okay, so you then create the order, which I apparently didn't bother to write. Okay, fine. Then create the line items. So for the cart contents, for each item, and presumably there's been some validation or something, like you can buy those things for that event. This user can do this. For each one, you would have a cart item. You probably wouldn't do this because you would have already validated that that was a thing. Like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe if it's already been validated, maybe you would do this. So, what type of product is this cart item? And it would create the line items for the cart. Which again, I didn't do, but I was like, right. That would then just create the database lines for the line item. Didn't actually bother to implement it, fine. But then you would need to create the line itemables. So the idea is that each product, by being a product, would need to know how to create line items for itself, maybe. And but each line item, so this is then, we've created the line items for each line item. We then go through and say, oh, because each, oh, okay, and this is I think this is my thinking here, is maybe each product will then create multiple line items. So you can't, you couldn't just do this, for example, in a world where this might create multiple line items. Because this cart item now might become multiple line items. Maybe. I don't know if we're going to allow that. But then you then have to go and get those line items or collect them all here or do something in code. Again, this is all just rough. But here I was like, right, okay, well then let's iterate over those line items. And for each one, we don't want to speak to the line item directly because a line item is a dumb static snapshot of data. What we actually care about is the product associated with that line item. Well, that's interesting because the line item is dumb and static because the rules won't change. Oh, but this is like, this code is all happening at the point at which they're clicking create order. So I guess this is fine. So to know how to create line itemables. The line itemables are things like creating the attendee, stock allocation records or something like that. I wonder if this is like any good at all. Like, I wonder if this is just not. And the trouble is that you know the answer is that it's not good because you never get it right in any way first time, and in like 6 months' time you're always like, oh god, I just didn't even know that this was a thing, which is fine. Okay, fine. But I wonder if this is even the right mental model for any of this. Having mixed types of item in a cart. Yeah, okay. I might go through the spree code a bit more and just look at that e-commerce system way of doing it in more detail. Like, so I think like that variance idea, I think I'm totally skipping over a lot of complexity there. Right, what was I trying to accomplish here? I have no idea. So I assume that this is something like me trying to demonstrate this idea of each instance of a ticket type knowing how to create its own line items, but then create line items for cart or create line items for cart item. Yeah, okay. And then it would also have create line itemables for line items. So maybe it's the product itself that knows how to do that. So create line items for cart item. And then I remembered, yeah, this was, I think I remembered that there was a problem with this, which is, what was the problem with this? I'm sure it's one of many that you... Oh, I think it was like when I was thinking about like cross-item discounts, like buying 5 of one thing and 10 of another and having those discounts get applied. Because you would need to know the price in order to... that was it. Further upstream in this code flow, you would need to have assigned the price before you attempt to create it, because the price could be adjusted as part of the cart. I suppose you could treat that separately. You could say that the line item was still always the same price and then treat that as an adjustment over the whole cart. I wonder if this is making any sense. If anyone watches this later on and it's just like, I think you've lost your mind. You could have adjustments that were put over the whole cart, but like if you had discounts on quantities, perhaps that's maybe a better way of thinking about it. So maybe if you buy 10 tickets, it's one price, then 15, it's another price. You would need to have that. Well, I've tried to model that here. This product is being passed an individual cart item or line item, whatever you're thinking of. Well, because it hasn't created the line item, it's being created an individual cart item. But in order to calculate its own price, it might need to know about other things in the cart. So perhaps it's the order builder that does that first and then passes better information down to the products to then create their own line items. And what I think I was trying to indicate here was this idea of, well, let's say that they've purchased 10 tickets. They've got one cart item, but we want 10 line items. Do we want 10 line items, or do we just want 10 line itemables? That's where I'm not really sure what we're looking at in Eventbrite when we then go and see that we've put like... We see that we put in 2 like free tickets and see the price split across all of them, assuming that each one is therefore a line item because the cost has been spread across each one. We're not seeing one line item with 2 attendees underneath it. When we're in this UI here and order 2 of these on our modeling, are we creating one line item for £40 that creates 2 line itemables? Or are we creating 2 line items and later on, if we want to show the user them like this, we would only show, we would take the fact there was 2 line itemables and wrap them up together? Or do we create 1 master line item, which is this, and then 2 individual ones? And what are the pros and cons of each of those approaches? Because I'm assuming they're both valid. Because you're still... What would that actually look like? You'd have... So here you end up with... I'll just do new, but like this would be... quantity and like, I should put item name for now. It doesn't matter what it is. What are we buying on that thing? Pro runners teams. Quantity is 2. And that would just be, then you'd have like, it would spit out like, one line item, and then that would create I think we're still calling them attendees. Whereas in this model, you end up with 2 line items. And some sort of calculation to split the price across them. Then you'd have to wrap them up later. What are the pros and cons of doing that? Having to wrap them up later could be complicated. Pricing rules must come into play. Like that must be why when you decide what's a line item, because the line items are to help you reconstruct the financial history of the order. So if you're only creating 1 line item, you don't care about modifying an adjustment on one of those later. You're always going to be adjusting all of them. But even when you go into Eventbrite and go to the admin for an order, like when you refund this attendee, if we only had 1 line item at this point, that would be really hard. This work has been done up front to assign a financial value to each line item so that you can refund each line item, even if it's an attendee. If we didn't do that and only stored 1 line item, that would be way harder. Yeah, I think creating a line item per attendee is, and then wrapping it back up to show to the user and always showing them like Eventbrite does is probably easier. Or I'm missing something totally, like totally a better option, which I'm more than happy to believe. Okay, so let's go build some of this stuff. Let's go play and see what we can do. And we can just keep going in our admin like project thingy that we've got. I don't think we've got any. Oh, do we actually need to generate the models, or can we just do we need to do anything with databases? Maybe we could skip all of that. Let's say that was me adding the Eventbrite widget stuff, which I was playing around with. So in here, we have no models. If we add in an order model, Oh, I'm good. It just won't let us persist anything, but that should be fine. So if I can I use like active, is it active model? Yeah, I think I'm looking for active model. This is the problem with Stack Overflow. Like the correct answer from years ago is then like at the top, and you have to read back through anything that's not from the last, more recent. It's tricky. Yeah, okay, so this is what I want. Okay, great. So we don't need to do anything. We can just tell this thing what we want because we're just prototyping. We don't care about any of this stuff. Can we do associate? I don't think we care about that either particularly. So we can have an order. But we could still make associations by having like just methods on this, but they just won't be persisted. So we could fake it by having like whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, so let's come back to that. So the line item, that's going to have an ID, and it's going to have line items, which we'll come on to in a second. Going to have a purchaser, payment details, all that stuff we looked at in Spree, I guess. I mean, that's just a standard checkout. I am purchasing this thing, and I need to be an ID for loads of other things to reference. Okay, fine. So then we want to have an item. And we want to have, I think we want to have product. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. So I think we want to have product. But I think product is product like a base class. Let's not worry about that right now. Let's just make like ticket type. So ticket type is a type of product. In an e-commerce system, all things you purchase are products. This would all be products, but some of them are special and have different behaviors. And we're skipping over variants and that altogether. So what we're saying here is that ticket type inherits from product, which that could be like product base or something like that. But let's just keep going with this. We could then have yeah, okay, let's have the like e-commerce items. That could be the other type of thing to purchase. And you could namespace all this stuff. You could do more sensible things. I'm just going pretty quick through these. Okay, let me put my font size up. Sorry, realized how small that is. Okay, so we've got all of this stuff here now. So we've got all of these models. And let's go build a cart. And so we could say that one of the rules could be that all of the products in the cart have to be from the same event. Like, that could be a rule that you put in. Okay, let's give it this out. So we're gonna have I'm using cart, but I am aware for my fellow British developers that could be basket, shopping basket, or shopping trolley. Cart has taken over, but we don't say that much in the UK. A little shopping basket. Trolley, which I quite like. But then in America, trolley is like a carriage as well. It's a language. All right, this is stupid. Should have makes. Okay, so this is just going to be a standard controller. And we want to have like, see if I had that fancy new GitHub thing, I wouldn't need to type all this boilerplate. Control, I don't know if any of this code's correct. I'm just making it up. So in here, we are going to have, so in here, you could have like a cart UI builder. So you know you're going to have different types of products in here. So you're going to have potentially ticket types, potentially e-commerce products, potentially other things. You're going to need to get a collection of each one. And it would be up to you how generic you go to make the system. So we're going to say we're not going to make it generic at all. We're going to have specific collections for specific product types because we're only going to have a small number. And then later on, you might be like, well, actually, we're going to have N product types and the cart has to support what gets thrown out. But let's not go that deep. So here we're going to have ticket type. New ticket types. And we're going to have... Oh, it wouldn't be 2 times, is it? It would need to be. Let's just fuck it. Let's just do one right now. Like, come on, there's not everything's. And then we'll have like e-commerce products. I think that was just called e-commerce product. E-commerce item. Sure. Again, names are just stuff that just put in the notes the other day. So here we have e-commerce item. And sorry, I'm just checking something on the other screen. Cool, okay. So we then want to create one of those. That's a collection. Let's create a route for this. Again, we're just prototyping, so we're not actually doing anything properly. As admin. Make a V for it. We're not trying to do anything fancy right now, just trying to be basic in our layouts. And this is going to be new. say the word cart. So if we go to our application, which is in Chrome over here, let's see if we can then go to cart. Cool, so we can see it says cart, great. Then in here, can we do... I'm trying to think and type, which I can barely do the first one, let alone the second one at the same time. So here we then have a collection of ticket types. And for each one, let's just spit out. Let's have name as an attribute, which means we then need to add that attribute to our model. But we can have... We don't need to get set, do we? So we can just have a thing called name, and that can generate just a string. We don't really care what it is. So ticket type, and then we can add just one to like, it doesn't matter. So some number. Okay. So if we then save that. Oh, they're not collections in the controller. Okay. So this is actually just again, this wouldn't be arrays, but whatever. Just collections of things. Oh, so we've actually accidentally spat that out. We don't need that. Go. Wait, what? This is not producing a range. Well, I'm screwing that up. What's going on there? That's interpolated. Wait, is that not being run as code? Is that code not doing what I think it does? Oh man, it's Sunday morning. Oh, okay. Oh, that's producing a range. I just want a... Oh, I just want... Oh, okay, right. Do I just want... that? Yes, okay, sorry, I just want rand. Sorry, I just want rand. And then a number. Cool. So it's just bring it like this is just indicative. It just brings back a random number each time. So we're not persisting anything. We don't care. We're just trying to get UI up and running. I sneeze again. No, it's not, and it's never going to happen. So here we would then have a little like quantity thing, and that would be, because this whole thing would be a form. This could be a... Let's not worry about that being form, because I think I'd have to like then go and define the stuff we were doing form for. It would need to respond to a bunch of stuff. So this could then just be, just do this by hand. Input type number. Probably not, but whatever. Okay, and then that is the number of these that we purchase. So that would then be name, quantity, animal. Oh, it wouldn't be quantity. It would be all like this. Then has line item. That's quantity. And there would then be a UI-based price calculator. You'd need to work out. You would need to show the user that the price, but obviously you're not going to use the value that comes back from that on the server side as the actual price for the line item. You would calculate it again, because otherwise the user could just adjust the params to say like £1 is like, hey, this is £10,000. They could adjust the param to be £1 and you would say the line item is £1. So you always do your price calculation on your side, not accept any user input or params for that value. So we can put it in, but we don't really need to have that as an input or anything. And we had said earlier that in the order builder, it would kind of work that out. So let's say that this, we thought that was going to be $9.99. This is now our row. Font size, bump it up. Let's go to there. Okay, so this is like, we want 2 of these. That won't change. For 1 ticket for $9.99. Cool. And we then might have all of that again for e-commerce products. Is that why I put e-commerce items? E-commerce products. I don't know why I've named it differently each time. It's really annoying. E-commerce product.name. And then that can be $109.99. There you go. And here we need to do name as well, because we're asking it to respond to that as well. So here we just want to put did I not save the view? I didn't save the view. Then go back and update. Oh, we need those in. Okay, so okay, so we've got our little kind of fake cart here with some models in it. When we click a button at the bottom, oh, we just have a button actually. Oh, didn't we have something on the page the other day that made it like a purple button thing? How did we do that? Did we just put that was not a component, was it? It was, we didn't make a button component. We must have done it in the like add attendee or something. In events, it was admin events, which I think is index. Yeah, okay. So let's do this and steal. Whoa, whoops. Suddenly zoomed out a lot. Yeah. I'm not sure purple is really my color. If we just make it blue, that'll do. So we can go back to cart. Cool. Okay, so then we can make next step. So this, the collection of products with a quantity. So this is then, when we click next step here, we will come to the create action for cart. And the params that we will have here will be the products and that is because they can be different types of product. That's the product type and ID. So they then need to be validated again because you can't accept them from the params. You have to actually check that the person purchasing can purchase from the event. So the order is tied to the event. Do those products inferred from their type and ID belong to that event? Or can they be purchased for that event? If they can, great. If not, remove them from the order. They would need to be validated, that's fine. You then have quantity, which you'll validate as you build the order, I guess. And then, well, you would be past price, but you would ignore it because you need, these are the only things you actually need, I think. Because we want to build everything else ourselves. So we would say you could sort of do that validation, like if you model out what this thing actually is. So you could say cart item dot new. So just making this stuff up. Cart params. Items. I don't know. You basically like loop over them. Okay, they're different. So you could handle all of that here. Like you could have that outsourced to another model or a class or something that just says like, hey, and this could know, for example, like the cart could know what event it was for. So you could actually have a cart object that represented that could come from cart params. Cart details, I don't know. Like I'm trying to think what building this out would look like. So this would have this could then represent the actual cart. This wouldn't need to be persisted at all, any of this stuff. This could all just be for validation. Because the thing you're actually creating is the order. These could be, again, maybe my naming's off here. But you're checking like, hey, is this legit? Then for each of the things, if it is legit, for each of the things that we want to put in it, are they legit? Maybe you add them to a section on the cart. I don't know, something like that. So you basically build this thing that you know is then validated, and then you could do order dot. Again, maybe you don't actually pass it straight to the model. You could have an order. It's not building like creator or I don't know, like order creation service. I don't know, whatever you want to kind of call your modeling structure, but you could actually pass it the cart, which has done all of the hard work of validating everything. And then this could be the thing that then goes off and does what we were describing in Notion, building the line. This could be this part here. So this is then creating the order object, the actual record in the database, creating the line items. Again, so this would have to all be validated by this point. You would want to, I suppose you could, yeah, or you could build the you just need to do a bunch of validation. You need to check that this is a thing. Because I'm thinking, like, when with the stuff like we were in Spree earlier, like promotions and calculators and things like that, you need to need little seams for them to get popped in and mess with the items. But I'm guessing you'd want that pretty late anyway. It's so frustrating because you just know that you're missing like 15 gajillion obvious things about modeling this out. So here you would then have an order, presumably, that would then have all the line items in it and everything. That's what gets returned from this, I guess. Maybe you don't do that. Maybe you have a value like a response object or something like that, and you actually have a true or false with a reference to the order or something like that, and then whatever, depends what kind of like how you're structuring things. So this could just be like response object, and then if you could have like the second step, so it'd be like cut else path. I don't know what it would be called. Else. Oh, okay. So maybe what you build. So how do you render out the errors on this form? Is that on this form? You need to have built this in a way that's then passable back. So this could be cart.new, and then I don't know, I'm totally making this up as I go along. This might be really nonsense. This could be cart dot, and again, I know that actually tying here, we're hard coding these things, that's probably not ideal. You would actually maybe have it totally generic, be like cart product types, and then it would be the UI that knew what the collection was to do things. I don't know. So then here, you're then from this, you would build the cart in the same way. This would actually just be more like something like build cart because you'd have an event ID which would be able to go and get all of the items that could be purchased. But you're not building the cart at that point. Maybe my modeling is way off because you haven't actually created the order or anything. The cart is maybe a shell is a better thing, because a cart is normally like how you've added something to it. So here, the UI you're actually building is an empty shell, but then you're always going to have to add something to it. Like, presumably there is some server-side validation where you could try and post to that place. And you'd be like, hey, there's nothing in your cart. Anyway, this is all pointless. This is not pointless, but like this is stuff you can build later. It doesn't matter. You just need to be able to pass that, which is a collectible list UI stuff, back so that you know what was wrong. These again. Still not going. So that whichever items you're having a problem with, you could attach, like maybe cart could be an active model, and then you could attach the error message to the right place or something like that, depending on what has come back from this. Yeah, I've done stuff like this before. So if you do have like, if you do have a response object, it might contain errors, but you need to assign them to the UI. So you could do something like that. And the idea there is that you're then not just passing back an active record object, but you could just pass back an active record object. Again, this is all like you'd figure out what patterns you were going to follow in your controllers and do all of that stuff. So here you then have an order. So let's go and take a look at order creator. I don't think I'm a million miles from where I was in Notion here. I just haven't answered my fundamental question, which is, what are the pros and cons of adding a line item for each one? So let's do that. Again, probably not a great name. Are we passing in the cart here? I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. So then we had all this stuff in Notion, didn't we? So we could then say it was cart content, so we're passing in, we should pass in the cart. So let's grab all this stuff, chuck all that in here. So create order, then we could implement some of this stuff. So because then you could well, that's create order and let's create again, awful naming. You wouldn't do this, but you could kind of do, oh, actually, I suppose you could do it there. You could do this stuff here, or and like your I don't know how much of that syntax is even vaguely right, but it doesn't matter. So in here, we're then saying create order. Record list. Again, ignore the naming. But this could be like, create, so you end up with your record. That would have some sort of params in there that we cared about. You then have at order, create line items. Current product, so create line items. That would then need to have the order passed in as well. Okay, and so this is then calling out to the product for that. So that would be create line items for cart item. And this is then where we're asking that question. So on this is presumably been validated by this point. So here we would then say on ticket type. Yeah, and then this was what we were talking about here. This kind of thing. Yeah, I think I'm already against what I'm doing here. Oops. So Y is maybe. I think I'm probably against doing that here as well. It could probably be a thing that just does this stuff for each product. Like a handler, you pass it off to each for each product type. It has like a little handler class that does these things. So it never actually gets to this model. I think we'd do that elsewhere. So create the line items. Yeah, I've already gone right off this design, but whatever. That's why we're doing the prototype. This is like the point of this. Like, oh, I don't like. There's something in it. Like, oh, this is wrong. Like, you feel it immediately. Like, oh no, this shouldn't be here. What was I doing? Because you back yourself into doing this here because you were actually thinking about like, doing something else over there. So. But the theory, but that doesn't really matter. Right now what we're saying is like, well, you would create the line items. Again, this is all in one transaction. Create the line items. Create the line item of bulls. And here, because we're doing... car item dot quantity dot times whatever dot times, so like here 3 times create 3 line items, each with a quantity of 1, and we will calculate the price when we do that. So the implicit rule that we're creating there is that each attendee should only ever have 1 line item. Because if you refund, that allows you to be able to show a UI where you refund that line item when you refund that line item, you're just representing 1 person, as opposed to having a line item that says I bought 5 tickets and having to say I want to refund 1/5 of this. And we're modeling that right in the database rather than just trying to rebuild it in the UI. And then on... So you could have something in the line items that allows you to make it easier to regroup them. So when you show them to the users, they're easy to view. Morning in the chat. Morning, Pedro. How's it going? I'm going around in circles mainly. Pedro is the answer to how it's going. You could have something in the line item that allowed you to regroup them more easily. So here, so we're buying 5 tickets for this event. We're going to generate 5 line items behind the scenes to make our administrators' lives easier. So we have order 5 line items. Those line items are the individual tickets, but the purchaser only sees 1 line item. You could put something in here to make your life easier. What would that be called? That could be like... it's kind of like the parent... I mean, that is that idea of having parent line items. Because you're basically saying, I know which 5 tickets let's say this creates 5 line items. You're saying okay. Sorry, I'm not verbalizing myself very well, but I'm trying to think through what this actually means. So here you could say, I mean, you could assign it like a cart line item ID, like you could, and they could all have the same one because you've got the cart item here. So you could generate an ID for this. So this is this UI here. So here we want 5 of these, whatever, 5 of these, 2 of these. And this row here is your cart item, not a line item on the order yet. So you could give it an ID somehow. It could be, it doesn't really matter what that is because you're never going to need to go back to it. Like you can't. I suppose unless you're. Oh, I think I'm getting lost down the terminology of cart versus order. Because I think I'm just. This is the problem when you're doing this on Sunday mornings. Normally you have like a whiteboard and other smart people to help you. But like in an e-commerce site, you start your cart and the actual order isn't created until the end of the cart, but you store the cart the entire way through because you might want to send them back to it, right? So we're creating an order just because that's the terminology we use, but actually, and that's not a dumb thing to do because of this idea of ticket allocation. So when you're purchasing let's say you're purchasing a widget from an e-commerce store, you add 3 of them to your basket and it says in stock in the UI at that point. But when you click purchase, you haven't made this, they don't make the stock allocation when you add it to your basket because a million people might add it to their basket. An e-commerce store only makes the stock allocation only when the financial transaction happens. That's not what we're doing a lot of the time on the ticket side of things. That allocation is temporarily made during the cart process. You haven't actually finished your transaction, but what we're going to do is reserve these tickets for you for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however long your purchase takes. And that prevents the idea of getting to the end of the checkout and being disappointed because everyone would get to the end of the checkout and only the first, if it's hugely oversubscribed, only the first people would get through. It's annoying for users because obviously loads of people start the process and then don't finish it, so the allocation takes up tickets that people might really want to buy. But that's fine. So therefore, what we're doing on the naming side is calling it an order because we're really creating allocations at that point, which is different to an e-commerce store. So that modeling follows. However, on the e-commerce store, we do store the cart. So when we're doing this UI, do we ever come back here? Like, do you ever say like, I want 5 of those and 2 of those, and then you leave and come back and it's pre-filled? No, you start the checkout process. The cart is irrelevant. Whereas in an e-commerce store, it's just saying really basic things. In an e-commerce store, the cart is persistent. And then also there is a checkout. There are just 2 steps, but your cart might be stored locally. You might sign in and have an account and store your cart items. Okay, so this doesn't even, but that's what I mean by that, is this doesn't even need to, you never need to come back to this. All that matters here is that the ones created together from the same ones are then regroupable. But you could just add in like line item group ID and just add in like a UUID or something. Like, we don't care, because the user's never going to see it, and all you're using it for is grouping these things back together to show them in a UI. We don't actually care that they're related in any way, because the admin is always going to see them as individual line items. We're only ever going to act on them as individual line items, or combinations thereof. You might want to refund 2 of them or 3 of them, or adjust the price of 1 of them or whatever. And therefore, each line item is also going to have a line itemable created for it as well, like an artifact that is representative of that individual transaction. Is that what's happening here in this group booking? So here we've got again, let me bump the font size up here to the point where we can actually see it. So here we've got ticket, one price, one ticket, one price. Oh, sorry. 1 ticket, 1 price, 1 line item in the UI. 1 ticket, 1 price, 1 line item in the UI. 1 line item in the UI, representative of 10 tickets, which we know then generates 10 individual ticket records with 1 price. So that would be a ticket type. Right, so that would be a ticket type. That this would just be, this logic, which I've just stupidly written, is not how this would work. This would be like cart item, like quantity, calculated quantity of, again, you wouldn't call it this, but like calculated quantity of line items. You should come up with a better name than that. But like, you're basically saying, like, as a product, you're smart enough to know that one of you as a, and that then breaks. Yeah, because this still has a quantity of 1. It just creates this many line items, each of which has a quantity of 1. But on the invoice, no, I think I would be breaking this functionality, which we don't have and haven't really planned. But again, as I said at the start of this stream, this is not, we're not doing this well or logically or anything like that. Like, it's just to see if we can get something built. Like, we would have worked out what was in scope and what was out of scope at the beginning of the thing, not just while we're fucking around with the thing. So let's not assume that this is how I do my job or anything like that. Let's just, no judgment here. So do we want to allow this type of functionality? Presumably yes, because it's pretty cool. But this previous model here breaks it, where we were saying that actually the number, you would assign the cart item a quantity as we do on Eventbrite. You just say, how many of these do you want? This many, great. These then represent that many attendees. Here, you've got 1 line item, which creates 10 line itemables. And 10 line items. When I go, what? Can I create an account for try booking, didn't I? Got it open here? Yes. Okay, so let's see how they actually do this on the UI side. So this is something that we're trying to work out, how when we model our pricing group ticket prices. Okay. Oh, I forgot about this one. This is the one where it has all of the things. Most events will only need one pricing group. An example when you would need two pricing groups if you're running an event over multiple session times and need to offer one or more sessions at a different price. Discount codes on let's see what these are editable as. Oh, this was this good for. Group tickets allow you to sell more than one ticket for a set price. If you're selling group or package deals, you may need to check the group ticket box and increase how much a ticket is good for. E.g., a family ticket that gives entry to 2 adults and 2 children is good for 4. I do not enjoy that wording. I also enjoy that the wording used in this system is in quotes and has to have a full explanation above it. It's like, okay, cool. It's complicated. No, I'm not judging. So what do I see when I buy this? That's what's so annoying. Can I make this free? Amount 0? Save and close. Okay, so can I then go to my event? Book now. I don't know what that was actually called. Pro Runners Teams. I think it matters which of these I go to. Runners Team, good for 5. I want 5 tickets selected. Well, let's do 2. Let's actually see what I actually end up purchasing. Okay, that was a stupid idea because now I have to fill in 10 things. I don't want that. I want to go back. I want to do this. 5 tickets. Okay. So then... Oh, none of them are mandatory. Great, I don't care. So I've got 5 line itemables, 5 actual attendees or tickets or whatever. How many line items do you think we're storing or able to edit later? So this is all £0. So here I'm just filling in enough details to get me through. And this is going to be... Yes, and yeah. Okay, great. So when I go to view my tickets now, what do I see? So I still see 1 times... I see 1 times there. When I go to view tickets, again, these are tickets presumably for my line itemables here. And then this is my receipt, which has 1 line item. And now what do I see in my admin area? Can I start to refund individual participants? Where's orders? Last 10 transactions. Okay, how do I actually get to... How do I get to the tickets? Or is that it? Because I haven't... How do I see the details that they would have typed in? I want like view attendees or whatever. Manage events. Test event. Ticket sales. Last 10 transactions. Okay, so I can see that I've bought 5 tickets. But if I had entered like names and details into those, maybe because I didn't, I can't see them. Please refer to reports for a complete listing. Attendee reports. Here we go. I don't know what these are. Door list. Test event. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So that's just my booking. Okay. And can I not? Maybe I'm just not seeing like refund and stuff because I did it as a free event. This one is no shade for the people on this one, but this UI is not as. I just want to view like that order, like that the financial transaction that happened here. I want to like I can see. I want to see bank account, templates, make a booking, find a booking. Right, bookings, here we go, find a booking, search. This one, booking ID. Right. Receipt, email booking confirmation, and tickets. The tickets I get a PDF, which I guess is my individual attendees. Okay, so I think they really do just have one line item and create the tickets refunded here. I'm guessing I don't get the option to refund because there's no. I'm assuming that would be down here if there was a financial transaction. I'm guessing. So they're just storing, I think they're storing one line item and creating the line item of balls, the tickets, the attendees, whatever you want to call them, based off that one. Whereas when we did the same thing here, although we didn't have like, where's group options here? So remember, that grouping is not like the grouping we were talking about previously. That's like quantity discounts. So how does it, that's like eventbrite quantity discounts. Okay, maybe they don't do that. They've got one on here that says group discounts. Okay, if that's what they call it, let's just Google group discounts. Great group tickets like buy one, get one. Right, hang on a second. So they handle it by like buy one, get one, or table tickets. Create group tickets, set the price of the ticket as the price of a single ticket, then restrict the number of tickets per order in advanced settings. This shows the attendees buy the correct amount of tickets. Right, so you can't actually... Okay, so... Okay, well that kind of gets you around that problem. So the rules of the ticket type create, right? Okay, so they're not doing what Try Booking are doing, which is creating this separate line item type, product type, I guess. Around, sorry, font size really small again. So what do we want to do then? What do we want to do? So why are they? What's the good and bad about doing it each way? So for Eventbrite, if you want to have a discount ticket for like it's £20 to take part in the fun run, but if 5 of you take part, it's £50. So it's a half price basically for batches of 5. They would say, well, create a group ticket called. They would create a ticket type, called group of 5. Set the ticket price as £10, and set the minimum and maximum as 5. So they have to buy 5, and that sets the price per ticket there. And then, as it said in that help article, you have to go and manually adjust your... No, you shouldn't have to adjust your allocations, surely, because... Event overselling by setting a total capacity. By default, the capacity of your event is the total number of tickets available per ticket type. If you have 50 early bird and 50 standard tickets, the total capacity is 100. Ah, I see. Right, so what you're doing here is you're moving... Ah, well, that's still a fudge though, right? So you're... Because the overall capacity is per type, you're going to have to guess up front how many people are going to buy the batches of 5 and just check that the two numbers don't go over and then adjust them later on. Or set a limit on each one. So it's like, okay, there's only 20 batches of 5. Okay. Whereas with the... Yeah, just... It does make life easier for yourself. So on this one... Yeah, wouldn't it be easier if you just offered a capacity type that was not... It was per event and not per ticket type, and just said there are 1,000. Again, that just goes back to that complexity. Presumably, you can have a total capacity that covers all ticket types. You could say, right, there are just 1,000, and as soon as we hit 1,000 attendees, stop selling things. But I bet that screws the validation up further in the chain. Oh, this is so interesting. Like that, all these decisions have this knock-on effect of the user experience and the decisions you make further up the chain. Okay, so we need to make some decisions. I'm just aware that we're well, shit, we're already at 2 hours. Like, okay, so we've built out some models. We've run through the problem space a bunch. And I feel like I have a better handle on it. I think to be honest, yeah, I don't know, offering, because we still haven't really got into the fact that once this is just the basic modeling. On top of that, we now need to deal with the fact that we want to be able to group people together at a certain point in their purchasing process. So for Eventbrite, that was per ticket type. And once you had decided you were in a team, you could then only buy tickets that were across that ticket type. And you couldn't move them in and out of that later. What we might want to say is that the groups are per event. And all you need to be is an attendee of that. Like, you could disassociate the rules of that. Maybe this isn't such a problem. Maybe you could just totally disassociate those two things. You could say, okay, well, either the groups are per ticket type, you assign the group on the way through, or you say there are groups that don't care about ticket types. They just care that you're an attendee. At some point in the purchasing journey, where you allow you to either create or join a group, all of the attendees from that order across all ticket types go into that group. God knows how you handle the allocation validation around that. At the point of order, I guess, like you do the tickets. You ask them if you're trying to put everyone in a team or group up front. You create an expiry on that, maybe the order expiry or something like that. I guess like the allocation that you could handle groups and teams with this idea of a membership or allocation record that could have expiry in it. Completing the order, part of the order completion process could be then just clearing that timestamp and saying no, they're in there, or setting another timestamp which is like, confirmed out or whatever. So that could just be disassociated. So then we're not tying the groups to the ticket types like Eventbrite does. Oh, you just know there are good reasons why they're doing that. You just know that that's like, it's a bad idea to try and disassociate those. Okay. So going back to the question of like, how would we handle group discounts? What happens if you set off on a route where you build this idea of group of, there is a line item per attendee, but you group the line item so that you can show things, you could show a single one later. But could you kind of say, well, let's not code in any rules that mean one line item equals one attendee? That just happens to be how we're structuring it. But later on you could have, because once you've created this artifact, this idea of an attendee, you actually never want that attendee to look back at that line item again ever, other than for presentational reasons. Like, it would only be a view that ever cared about joining these two things together. Once you're actually editing the attendee or editing the order, you're either editing the line item or the attendee, never both. So an example where you'd care about both is like, hey, I want to refund this line item and revoke the allocation for this person. But even then, that's the job of the thing that's doing the refunding. Like, the attendee only cares that it's being deallocated or whatever, and the line item cares that it's changing its refunded value, and so or it's an adjustment on the order or however you're structuring that. How we group these, I think, might not be too important. Famous last words. So here, this version ties us to the cart item, in this case the product, which in this case is the ticket type. Creating one line item for each one, and that basically then says we're also, for each line item, going to create a ticket. But this could change, and we would do something like so this oh god, what am I doing here? This would, oh, actually, I put this in the wrong place. This would actually be like, that would just do, this would create one item. Let's write this down. So this would create one line item per attendee. And then if you didn't want to do that, you would do create one line item with many attendees. And so here you would then just do this. That wouldn't need to be grouped because it would just be the one. Pricing is just some idea, and the quantity would actually be cart item dot quantity. And again, maybe the price would get passed through. I don't know. We kind of ran through that earlier. So these would be our two options. We could start with this one and tie them together, then disassociate them. Then here, create line item of bulls for line item. Let's go back to Notion. It was because we were doing this here in our order builder. All this is really doing is creating an attendee, because here, nope, here, we're then going through the line items and creating the line item of bulls for each line item. Well, that would actually still work. No, it wouldn't, because if you were doing this first one, you would do create one line item with many attendees. You would do what this is doing, which is like that whereas create online per attendee here, you would just do that one. And so, as I said, I didn't like the idea of these being here anyway, because why is the ticket type creating these things? You would have a class that did it. You could... That doesn't feel crazy to change, because you could say to your UI, yeah, be stuff like clicking refund and things like that. Again, because the quantity is still going to be, so when you type in I want 3 of these things on the Eventbrite side, you do then get 3 individual line items, whereas if you type in 3 and you've got it set the other way around, you get 1 line item with the number 3 written on it. That is my dog barking at the dogs. Right, okay. We're well over 2 hours now, so I think I'm going to knock it on the head. I got really into this. I'm going to... Oh, it's mine. I think he's barking at my neighbour's dog. It's my neighbour's kid's dog, I think, comes around every week. Okay. This was super... I have no idea if this was useful for anybody else. I found this really interesting and useful. I just babbled on for a couple of hours about how I'm going to model this thing. I'm going to pick one of these, and I think I'm going to pick creating 1 line item per attendee. I think I'm going to do things like the Eventbrite way to start with. If anyone has watched this and has any like ideas, feel free to reach out. You can post a comment, or I think my Twitter is in the description and stuff like that. I'm aware, like I have said a couple of times, there's a bunch of caveats. Like I'm not, I haven't really spent a whole bunch of time on this, haven't done the research, haven't really worked out a set of requirements that I want to, haven't done things the right way by working out what I want to do before trying to do it. I'm just trying to do it and seeing what interesting spills out of it. But I am kind of interested if people work on products like this or have any thoughts around things like this or been burned by things. They're like, oh, you know what you really want to get ahead of. I'd be super appreciated. Other than that, yeah, like I said, so I did some homework this week, actually got some stuff done. Okay, again, sorry about. I actually got some stuff done, and so was able to bring like Notion. I will try and do that again next week because I found it way better to just have something to show you and to hit the ground running. And yeah, I don't know, for like a million miles of like maybe one, like a little bit more prototyping like that, like maybe building the models out and actually trying to build it. But then we could just go back like and start building the thing, like, and then just start trying to. I was like, let's try and start doing some things with it, like, I don't know, like making a ticket available for a thing that's free. Like, we could do that. Anyway, have an amazing week, everybody. Thank you so much for everyone who has watched or subscribed or done any of those things. Watch on Twitch, watch on YouTube. I will see you next Sunday, 10:30 a.m. UK time, and you can watch these anytime on YouTube. I'm gonna go sort the dog out. Have a wonderful week, everybody, and enjoy yourselves. See you later.